July, and I've been coming to Celebrate Recovery for like 15 or 16 months, I guess.
Yeah.
I am like 14 and a half months sober, finally sober.
Amen.
I grew up here in Toccoa. I was born here, and I'm going to die here. I like Toccoa. I do like Toccoa. I like that there's a church on every corner, and that you know everybody. I guess there's not very many secrets in Toccoa too. I guess. A lot of people don't really know my name, but they know my dad's family. They're the Blackwells, and they're crazy and wild and all that stuff. But I guess I don't really speak to them much and stuff. I was raised by my aunt and my uncle. My mother passed away when I was 5. She died when I was 5. My father murdered her. And so I grew up without both parents. He got sentenced to like 14 years in prison. And he's out now. And for a while we spoke, but we don't speak anymore. He's just kind of, I guess, happy where he's at, and that's okay. For my sobriety and for my family, I choose not to speak to him. When I was, the night that my mom passed away, I went home with my aunt, who is my mom's sister, and I lived there until I was 17. And I guess my aunt, she was in like her late 40s or 50s, and I thinking back now, I don't know that I could take somebody's kid in at that age, because she'd already raised her kids, and they had already either had kids or been married and had their careers going or whatever grown folks do, I guess. But so she took me in, and boy was she in for it, because I was a hot mess growing up. I pulled little boys' pants down on the playground. I picked on other kids. I loved attention. I didn't care if it was good or bad attention, I guess. But and I got attention and spankings and paddlings and all that stuff too. But when I was little, they introduced mood swings in me. Some days, I'd be really happy and like I guess a normal little kid is, just running around and playing with my cousins and stuff. Then sometimes I would get really angry, and I would pull my hair out and I would bite myself and scratch myself. And they thought that I had childhood bipolar disorder, schizophrenia. There's not really much of a difference with those two most of the time. But they started medicating me when I was 12, and I didn't take my medicine like I was supposed to. My aunt kind of just gave it to me and said, well, if you want to take it here, if you don't, then whatever. She did make sure that I took it correctly. That when I got to be a teenager, I started to get really depressed. I only took my medicine when I felt like I wanted to kill myself. So when you take antidepressants and then you just stop taking them, it makes the depression worse when it does hit you. I started cutting and burning myself when I was, I guess when I was 12 or 13. And by the time I was 14, I had to have something to hurt myself with everywhere that I went. Even at church, it didn't matter if someone looked at me the wrong way. I would get so upset. And I always called it my reality check, because as soon as I hurt myself in some way, I could breathe. I could take my deep breath and go about it. Yeah, it was my release. I could go about business again. It was just, I guess, how I took care of being so emotional. And by then, you know, I did already been drinking. I started drinking when I was, I guess, 11 or 12. Started smoking pot when I was 11 or 12, and started doing prescription pills when I was 13 or 14. My aunt, she had a lot of health problems, so I could always just go into the medicine cabinet and really get any benzo or opiate that I wanted. So I just started to self-medicate in other ways besides self-mutilation. More so when I was about 14. I started to drink and party and all that crap, as much as I could. My sisters that I have 2 sisters and a brother. I didn't know I had a brother until I was like 14. He's my half brother from my dad's side of the family. And my 2 sisters, they're a lot older than me. So I would hang out with my sister some, and she, you know, we would do whatever she wanted to do. We would drink, we would smoke pot, we would, I thought it was cool because she was my mentor at the time, so I thought that doing all those things were okay. And my aunt, she wasn't going to keep me from my sister, so she would let me go with her. I guess all that pretty much happened when I was 14. That's when I started to kind of get out of hand. But I met this girl named Melissa, and she was the same age as me. She was my best friend, and she had self-mutilation issues, and she drank and smoked too. And me and her just kind of teamed up, and we were something else. We would just do whatever we wanted to do. Her mom worked all the time, and she had an alcohol problem, so we could get, you know, sneak out of the house at night and go to whoever house that we wanted to and stuff. But me and her, we stopped hanging out and talking when I was about 15. Melissa got pregnant and quit school and moved in with her boyfriend and everything, so I didn't see her at all after that. She died 2 years ago of a drug overdose. She was awesome. She was my best friend. But, when I got into high school, boy, I didn't really know what high school was going to be like. I'd always heard that, like, they threw the freshmen in trash cans and you know, would pick on you and just make your life really really miserable and stuff. But when I got there, I realized that I actually fit in with a lot of the older people, the older kids that went to school and stuff. So I found this group of girls that they were 15 and 16 years old, and they dated these older guys that had fast cars and sold drugs and all that stuff. So I thought that I would do the same. So I started dating this guy, and I would let him hide his pistol in my car or sell whatever he wanted to out of my car, keep it in my car, and he ended up going to prison, and I think, pretty sure he's probably still there, but I got into this behavior where I thought if I wanted something from a man, all I had to do was be cute. All I had to do was say the right things, and I could get anything: money, drugs, a ride, alcohol. And I didn't really realize that those men, they were getting what they wanted too. And I did that until I met my husband, and me and him met when I was 16. But I learned how to manipulate people and how to use people. I lied to my aunt and uncle so I could get money. I would tell them anything so I could have, you know, some weed at least. Like that was, I always had to have something to alter my mind or numb me in one way or another. When I was 15, I dated this other guy, and he had this stuff, and he put it on top of his microwave, and he told me to snort it, and I didn't know what it was, and he told me that it was meth. Well, I snorted it anyways. And a year later, I was shooting it up, and I was like, God, I had lost like about 80 pounds. I was tiny. I had bald spots, and my hair was falling out. I couldn't eat. I got jaundice a lot because I guess, when you're doing that and you're not eating, and you're putting those chemicals in your body, which are like not made for human consumption whatsoever. It wrecks your organs, and I still get jaundice to this day, and I don't even do anything now, but I permanently damaged my liver, and it's just it's not really. I don't know why I thought it was worth it back then, but it was also, I didn't know God back then. I got saved or baptized when I was 8 years old, and I personally have decided that before I let my children get saved at that young of an age, I want them to make sure they know all the things that you're not 8 years old and happy your whole life. That is just really when you're 8 years old. It isn't your whole life that things stay the way they are, and people will influence you and hurt you and take advantage of you and violate you, and you don't always react the best way. Most of the time we don't. I still have an anger issue that a lot of people don't see, but if I feel like someone is trying to take advantage of me, use me, or hurt me, especially if it has anything to do with my babies, I turn into Mama Ape. Like, I will swell up on somebody and just it's not pretty, and I act crazy when I'm that way. And I'm glad a lot of people don't see me like that, but it's something that I struggle with. It's still, my anger that I have, and trust. I have a hard time trusting people sometimes, especially guys. I guess just because I guess the childhood stuff with my dad, but I don't know. High school was just, I guess that was when I started to use the harder drugs. But it wasn't even, it wasn't kids that even went to school. That was I was 15. He was like 30, I guess. So he was a lot older than me, and I don't understand why I didn't just say, no thanks, I'm good, or that'll probably like kill you if you do that. But I don't know. I guess we're just human, and when we see something new and different, I for one am always like, oh cool, I'll be right on that train. That sounds exciting. But that is the meth train, and it is not fun. It is not fun. Yeah, I love that I still have my teeth, and I have hair now, and I'm chunky. I don't look the way I did back then. It's really crazy to see the pictures from back then. I posted some on my Facebook, and I was just like, ugh.
Scary.
Yes, I look
Scary.
terrible. It's something that I never want to go back to. When I was 16, I met my husband, and he didn't know that he was going to be my husband, but I made sure that he was my husband. I was obsessed with him. I thought he was the cutest. He looked like Kiefer Sutherland off the Lost Boys, and I just thought he was so cute. And I would go around and chase him and pinch his butt, and he'd get so embarrassed. And I got ISS, and it was bad. I was very persistent on him, and
Bless his heart.
I guess about like 5 months later, he finally decided that he would date me, and I think it was like 3 weeks after that, I showed him my pipe that I smoked my meth with, and he almost broke up with me, and I was just like, what's your problem? It's just meth. It's just, what I've been doing for the past like year and a half. And I remember looking at him, and I said, you're not going to see me for a couple of days. I'm going to take this and this, and we're going to go, do our thing. And I think it was like 8 or 9 days later, I saw him at school, and his reaction to my physical, like the way my body looked, and so different in such a short amount of time. I remember him, having a fit because of my eyes and my lip, like everything was just chewed up or geeked up. It was terrible the way that he looked at me. I had never felt so ashamed in my life. I felt like I had let him down, that he had expected more of me than to run off somewhere with some idiots and be stupid with them. So I decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore as much. And he gave me an ultimatum pretty much and told me, like, you can't be doing that stuff and be with me. I don't date girls that do stuff like that. Those are bad girls. And so I tried to be a good girl. But and I would find ways to kind of get to do my drugs around him by giving them to his friends too. I would share whatever I had and everything. But he graduated school in 2006, and we got married in August of 2006, and I popped out a baby in February 2007. So yeah, no more partying then. But I had our first daughter. Her name is Ansley, and she is 5 years old now. She's in kindergarten, and she's really smart. She's really bright. She's our firstborn. We think the world of her and everything. But I guess after she was born, well, I was only 18, and all my friends that didn't have kids, they were still having keggers and all that stuff and going to college. So we would go to those parties, and I would bring this big jug of wine to every party, and I would drink my gallon of wine. And I started drinking a lot after I had her. I don't know if I'm still in denial, but I don't think I had a drinking problem. I didn't drink, I didn't crave it or anything. I just took it to the parties and stuff. But the alcohol that I was using led to me smoking pot again and doing meth again, and eventually finding out what Xanax was. And when I found out what that was, well, I lost my mind over that stuff. I had to take it every day. I remember thinking that I could clean the house better, and I kept myself looking better, and I did all these things better when I was on those. But eventually, I kind of looked around and was like, did I really just take 7 of those today? And it was so much of a habit that I had to have at least $80 a day to not get sick or not feel. I remember I'd feel like I had the flu, like all the muscles in my legs hurt really bad. They felt bruised. And so I started stealing from people and going into people's houses and robbing them. If they weren't home, I'd break into their house. If they were outside, I would steal whatever I could find. And eventually it got really bad. I wrecked 3 cars in like 6 months. At one point, that was in 2009, 2010, and I had flipped my Chevy 4 times in someone's front yard. Got out of the car, put myself back together, and started to walk home. Well, somebody will find it, I'm sure, and they'll do something with it. But this lady turned around and she came back and she asked me if that was my car, and I was like, yeah. So she made me go back, and I remember the cop looked at me while they were putting me into the ambulance, and he said, Miss Smith, have you been drinking? And I said, no. And I was just giggling and stuff. And so I don't know how I didn't get a DUI. I don't know how I didn't get a DUI at all back then. But I think I wrecked the next car a week later, and it was my mother-in-law's car. Mm-hmm. And I smacked somebody in the back of their car. I guess she's not paying attention. And it hurt the lady in front of me. I don't really remember what happened with that, but and then New Year's Eve, I took our Chrysler 300 that was my husband's pride and joy, and drove off a 40-foot cliff, and it was like this cheat, I don't know, it was horrible. It was like I had flown off the road and ran into trees in mid-air and just slid down and landed on the side. Well, I had my husband's little brother with me, and it completely took out his knee. He had his knee replaced. I had a broken arm and really bad concussion, And somehow I managed to climb up all that and make it to the road. But that night I was on pills too, and I ended up having to have surgery like a week later. And I remember they couldn't find a vein on me for my IV, and they had stuck me like 20 times in each arm. They tried in my feet, and eventually they put it in my jugular vein in my neck. And I was so mad. I was like, why is this happening to me? Because that hurts. That is, I don't know if y'all ever had that done, and I've always heard if you want to kill somebody, you go for the jugular. So I was like, this could kill me if they do it the wrong way. Like, this is scary. So, yeah, I was mad. I remember, blaming God and telling, everybody, well, there's no such thing as God. If He would have made everything better for me, and He wouldn't have let my mama die when I was little. And actually, like last week, I had a friend, one of the girls that we went to school with, she died in a car wreck here in Toccoa. And one of her friends said, I don't understand why God killed her. God doesn't kill people. Like, hello, God doesn't kill people. And it kills me that I used to think that he was this horrible man that if you did one thing wrong in your life, He would kill everybody you loved. That's not my God, at least. That's not. I don't know, but it's really easy to, I guess, feel that way sometimes, because you do want to blame someone for all the things that have happened to you. But it's free will. People decide to do things. I decided to get in that car at 3 a.m, and under the influence, and I had to pay for the decision that I made. I made a really irresponsible, immature, and stupid decision. And I had to look at my brother-in-law, who was like 17 at the time, go through like all this rehab for his knee. For them, he had staples all over his legs from where they had done all these surgeries and stuff, put screws in his knee and in his leg and stuff. And I felt terrible, but that still was not enough for me to like just say, dude, I don't need to do these pills anymore. I got pregnant that year in June or July with our second daughter, Sophia, and I remember being pregnant with her, and that's when I started doing more methadone and everything. I remember getting mad when I was pregnant though, and being like, well, I'm having to take so much more now because I'm pregnant with this baby. I can't get as high as I wanted to because I had this other human being, leech, just, taking my high from me, and it would make me so mad. And I can't believe I felt that way about someone that didn't even ask to be born. But I was mad because I wanted to be high all the time. And I couldn't be, but I failed on my drug test when I was pregnant. I didn't even know they did drug tests on you when you were pregnant, but the midwife I had, she told me that I had failed one of them. And I guess like 2 months later, I had her. And they didn't drug test her or me at the hospital, and they sent me home with this baby who was going through withdrawals from methadone. And I didn't know what to do. And 6 weeks later, I hung myself. And I went to Laurelwood. But I had hung myself, and my husband found me. And he cut me down, he did CPR and stuff. And that still wasn't enough for me to get sober. It was like, I guess I stayed there for like 5 days, and they just sent me home. They didn't tell me how to cope with this bipolar disorder that I had. They said I was bipolar with psychosis. And just gave me some pills. But when I was in there, I was like, well, what medications do you take? Xanax, Nortel, lithium. Like, I just named all these different things, and they just gave me these drugs so I didn't have to go through detox when I was there. They thought that I was just suicidal. And I guess it was like a couple weeks after that, I lost my mind again and tried to attack my husband, and he put me in Peachford. And that place was, it was different than Laurelwood.
Totally different.
Yes.
Not in that.
If you were to sleep by 9 o'clock, you got a knock shot in your hip, and you got put in bed. And they gave me this tranquilizer pill thing when I was there, and I remember I would come to at like 9:30 every night on this big lady named Barbara. And I would be like, oh, hi. And she'd be like, oh, it's okay, baby. You go right back to sleep. And I did not realize that that's what they were giving me. They were basically turning me into mush. I had spent Mother's Day there, and that Mother's Day prayer had like 10 cuss words in it. Those women, I loved them to death, and I know that they needed help, but they were just something else down there. I didn't know what to think when I was down there, because I'm from Toccoa. I'm not from Atlanta. I'm scared of Atlanta. I don't even like thinking about Atlanta. But I went to my first NA meeting when I was there. I didn't get to stay for the whole meeting though, because I was actually getting discharged that day. But I met a couple young guys down there. There wasn't very many girls in that meeting for some reason. It was mostly men, but there was a couple guys down there that had the same issue with the same medication that I took. And I remember one of them telling me, well, you know, going to meetings helps. It does help. You need to find a meeting in your town and start going. And I got home and I never went to a meeting. I didn't even try to find one. And I ended up relapsing. And I remember one day I had taken like $200 out of the bank and spent all of it on benzos and methadone, and I took all of it, and I woke up on life support, and they have you like tied to a bed, and there was this tube breathing for me and stuff, and I was just kind of like, what? This isn't where I was when I fell asleep. And they had to revive me. But when I had overdosed, my 2 kids were at home with me. My husband came home from work and he said he found me having some sort of seizure or something on the couch. He said that it reminded him of Pulp Fiction when that girl foamed from her mouth and all that stuff. And he said it was really scary for him. And my 5-year-old, she was 4 at the time. She would tell me sometimes, do you remember when you were purple and you were biting your tongue? And she doesn't say that anymore now, but she knows that Mama used to have a drug addiction and drug issues, and that God saved me, and that He put me back together. Like 2 weeks after I got out of Laurelwood that time, I came here, and Jimmy, he said, well, oh, hi, how are you? What are you here for? And I was like, oh, God, let me tell you something. And I just fell to pieces on him. And he just kind of looked at me like, oh, okay. Well, oh, all right. But I just remember, you know, he shook my hand and everything, and it made me feel so welcome. Because usually you just kind of sit there and you're like, I don't know any of these people. And they probably didn't have it as bad as I did. Boy, I was wild. I was crazy. They didn't, not like me. And I mean, if it wasn't for being able to come here every Friday, I would definitely have relapsed. There was actually one time I had made up my mind that I was going to take the car and I was going to go to my drug dealer's house. And I wasn't coming to see her that night. And I ended up coming here anyways. And I had told them, like, I don't know why I couldn't pull in the driveway, but I couldn't. Like, it was something, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go in there and do that again. But, I don't know, my marriage is a lot better than it was, that's for sure. We were about ready to, he was about ready to take my kids from me and just say bye, just be like, forget it. You're sorry, Mom. My kids will be better without you. And at that time they would have been, because I was exposing them to people that they had no business being around, that I had no business being around. But I think that once we're able to forgive ourselves, it's so much easier to live in this world. I felt so bad for all the things that I had done to people. And